Well, let's go right to Yasmin. Yasmin, the jury instructions are underway right now. What's going on?
Jury instructions are underway ahead of opening statements, Jose and Anna. 40 minutes for the prosecution, 25 minutes for the defense. A heck of a lot shorter than we expected, I'd say. But they're doing that because there's going to be a lot of details, much of a timeline, a lot of dates, and they don't want to overwhelm the jury in the opening statements process. Some judgments that were made from the bench that I want to talk about with you quickly. First, when it comes to the Sandoval hearing that we heard about on Friday afternoon, the admission of certain evidence, if in fact the former president decides to testify. Judge Juan Merchan is allowing 6 various cases to be cited if in fact Donald Trump testifies. We're talking about the Trump payroll and Trump organization judgment, the Trump civil fraud trial, 2 violations of gag orders as well, along with the E. Jean Carroll sexual assault case and the E. Jean Carroll defamation case. If the former president, along with his defense team, makes the decision that he will take the stand, the prosecution is allowed to cross with establishing a pattern of behavior with judgments from those 6 cases and or violations that I just cited. A couple more things that are happening in court this morning. The former president, we heard from him. He spoke about how challenging it is for him to campaign. We know he's going to have to be in court every single day for the next 4 to 6 weeks, barring Wednesdays when court is not in session. Just over the weekend, he had a rally, which I was at, down in North Carolina Saturday evening. He had to cancel that due to weather. He says he should be in a lot of other places that are not here. Take a listen to what he said.
I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning, and it's very unfair.
Juror number 9 returned to court today, worried about media attention. They went into private quarters with the judge, along with attorneys from both sides. They had a conversation. They came out. Juror number 9 is remaining intact. We thought that court was going to go into recess at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Instead, it's 12:30 now because of a dental emergency for one of the jurors. It was going to be 2 p.m. because of Passover. 2 p.m. they will go into recess tomorrow as well, but it's going to be 12:30 today. Just quickly, guys, let me lay out for you what opening statements are going to look like from the prosecution. They're going to paint a story. They're going to paint a story about the final days leading up to the November election, the desperation from the former president to win the election, the release of the Access Hollywood tape. They cannot submit the tape itself or play the tape itself for the jury, but they can submit the transcript as evidence. They're going to talk about David Pecker approaching Michael Cohen, talking about how Stormy Daniels is going to come forward with this story, having had sex with Donald Trump back in 2006, allegedly, in which the former president denies, and how they paid her $130,000. They'll talk about Karen McDougal and the catch and kill, and then to the defense. And they'll talk about witness credibility, how Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels have an axe to grind, and how Donald Trump paid his attorney. That is all he did. And that's what we're looking to today, guys, as a very big day in this station's history.
Yasmin, and you did a great job just laying everything out as far as what's happened already in court today and looking ahead to these opening statements. Stand by with us as we bring in our legal analyst. Maya, what did you make of that list of the scope that the prosecution could hit with Donald Trump if he were to take the stand? Everything from the civil fraud trial outcome to the E. Jean Carroll cases to the gag order violations that had been found in the case of the civil fraud trial. Does all of this sound fair game? And what does that tell you about how, one, the judge is viewing this, as well as what kind of decision the defense will have to make?
It certainly is fair game if Donald Trump chooses to take the witness stand and start saying things that we would expect if he were to take the stand, like, you know, I just didn't want my wife to know, or I didn't do it. I don't have affairs. Whatever opens the door, as we say, to the ability of the prosecution to then come in and bring the evidence that shows, well, actually, you have a pattern of behavior, and actually, here's what supports our case. And this is exactly why so many of us have said, very hard to imagine a scenario. It can happen, but very hard to imagine a scenario where anybody on Donald Trump's legal team wants him on that witness stand. There is just too much to attack him with, including a whole bunch of things he has said inconsistently over the years.
Caroline, so is that unusual for folks that don't have the experience that you all do, for example, on what a trial normally looks like? Is it unusual for the judge to say, If the defendant chooses to take the stand, these are 6 issues that can be brought up that won't be brought up if he doesn't take the stand.
No, that's exactly why we had this Sandoval hearing, to make sure that the defendant is properly informed to make that decision, to make the cost-benefit analysis.
Can you explain again the Sandoval decision issue? Because
Right. So the hearing was there to inform the former president that if he does choose to take the stand, there are certain issues that he could be questioned on, perhaps that he might not know that he would be questioned on because you might think that they're not pertinent or have anything to do with this case. We sometimes call it sort of other bad acts evidence. Typically, in evidence, that those types of things are not allowed to be asked. But this is so that the defendant can make an informed decision. Typically, Jose, you do not see defendants taking the stand. Remember, the defense has zero burden in this case. You know, we're talking a lot about what's the defendant's witness list. It could be zero. They could not even give an opening statement. They could never stand up or put anybody on the stand. Anything at all. It's the prosecution that has a burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt, and there is absolutely no burden on the defense.
And Temadayo, as jury instructions are underway right now, which again are expected to take about 30 minutes before the opening statements begin. Any surprises so far based on this Sandoval hearing outcome and anything else Yasmin reported from the court this morning?
No surprises. I mean, it's consistent with what I expected, which is Judge Merchan, I think, is going to judge this case in a conservative manner. I think the prosecution asked for 13 initial bad acts. They're getting 6. So it's a little bit of splitting the baby there, which isn't surprising. And sometimes it actually can help the prosecution. Prosecutors might have the instinct to go more aggressive. You want to crush that defendant. I mean, we've all been there. And the judge sometimes can limit your case, but it strengthens you on appeal. Because you go too far, you go too aggressive, an appellate court might say you really undermine the defendant's rights here. So I think it's a good decision for the prosecution, even though they didn't get everything they wanted.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.